An in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Happy New Year. Welcome to another edition of the show. A little later on, we're going to be chatting with Fort St. John Huskies coach Todd Alexander. If you haven't heard, the team is in the midst of a historically good season. They've only lost once in regulation and once in overtime out of 26 games, so they're having a good time. We're going to talk a bit about how that's going, and of course, everybody tries to find things to improve upon, even in seasons like this. We'll chat about that and so much more as well a little later on. But first, like everybody in the Northeast right now, the North Peace Regional Airport has been dealing with the extreme weather we've been having this past month, as well as many other challenges recently and in the past couple of years, thanks in part to COVID-19. To talk a bit about those challenges, we're joined now by the Managing Director of the North Peace Airport Services, Mike Karsseboom. Mike, welcome to Moose Talks. Thanks for doing this with us today.
Good morning, Dub, and thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, we'll get through the doom and gloom kind of part of this first, kind of the recent challenges you've been having. We did a story about this over at energeticcity.ca. The cold has been wreaking havoc on the aircraft, on our roads, on our homes, of course, and many other things over at the airport. Can you tell us a bit about those challenges? Because it's not just about the cold that's kind of been making it more difficult recently, has it?
No, there's been a number of issues. The cold certainly is a major challenge for equipment, for aircraft, for equipment that clean the airport itself. And, you know, like everybody, we've having equipment challenges, outages of equipment. Our crews have done a great job getting that equipment back in service and making sure that the airport is always open and serviceable, you know, for the critical function that it does provide. But, you know, above all, we've seen a number of cancellations and delays related more to the Omicron variant and the staffing challenges that the airlines are seeing with those infections.
I see. Okay. I want to talk about the de-icing thing first, because that's sort of a classic Canadian thing. You're trying to take a plane in the wintertime. They're trying to de-ice the wings. Can you explain what is happening and what the de-icing kind of does then for people who maybe don't know?
Yeah, I'm no expert, but I can try and explain it the best I can. And there's two types of de-icing. So first of all, an aircraft can't leave the ground with any kind of contamination on the wings or on the fuselage of the aircraft. There's two types of icing. If there's no precipitation happening, all you have to do is a de-icing to get any kind of latent contamination off those surfaces, and the aircraft can go. If it's snowing at the same time, then you have to de-ice. And then to prevent more ice or snow from forming on those surfaces, you have to provide a surfacing of anti-ice to prevent that from happening. Now, the biggest issue is that the de-icing is good to minus 40, so there's no problem there. But what we've had, because we've had precipitation at the same time, so snow falling, the anti-ice, unfortunately, is only good to minus 29 Celsius. So with the cold weather and the amount of snow we've had over the last little while, and the limitations on the temperatures of the anti-ice, that has caused a lot of issues with contamination on those wings and a lot of cancellations just based on that.
Okay, so de-icing the wing itself hasn't been so much of a problem, but it's this: if snow gets on the wing, then because of how cold it's been, that's kind of caused the most issues then, I'd assume.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Wow. Learn something new every day. You brought up, of course, COVID-19, which has been a big part of our lives now, sadly, for 2 years. I know at the start of this pandemic, kind of the major stories about airports everywhere was flight cancellations. Nobody could go anywhere. Nobody was going anywhere. The travel industry took a huge hit at the start of things. If we go back kind of to the start of this year, though, can you speak to kind of how this year has gone in spite of, COVID-19? Because we do have vaccines now that have been rolling out. Have things gone better this year than, say, in 2020, for example?
Well, it's interesting because, of course, COVID started in 2020, not till about mid-March when the restrictions started coming in. So we had a very good 2.5 months in 2020. In 2021, we did exactly the same passenger numbers as we did in 2020, but it was spread out evenly throughout the year. So, we went into 2021 with the rollout of the vaccines with a lot of hope. But we didn't see a result in increased travel that much. So we still had really good business travel. So travel for workers, for sightseeing, for the oil patch, for liquid natural gas, for those natural resources. But we're still very short on the leisure travel that we rely so much upon.
Okay, so people just choosing not to travel in 2021, just in general because of restrictions in other places or out of safety concerns, I suppose. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that most people want to go south, whether it's into the United States or climes further south, Mexico, whatever that happens to be, and the difficulty of getting there and then coming back and the potential impact if you test positive before you come back to Canada. I think that scared off a lot of people.
Okay. You also mentioned staffing shortages. Can you kind of tell us a bit about that challenge? I mean, has it been people being off sick? Is it finding staff who can, fulfill all the requirements of being staff at the airport? What's kind of been the problem there?
Yeah, all I can speak is factually about what's happening here at North Peace Airport. Sure. We've done overall quite well on the staffing level. There's multiple different aspects of moving an aircraft out here. We as the airport provide the infrastructure, and our staffing has been relatively stable over the entire period. So we're doing pretty good. I know that the ground handler, those people that load the bags and park the airplanes and unload the bags, they have been running short as well. I don't know specifically if it's related to COVID or just the overall shortage of labor that we're seeing in all different industries altogether. I know that at the airports that feed us, specifically Vancouver and Calgary, they are having difficulty with the same thing, with ground staff that are, providing services to the aircraft on the ground to get those aircraft out of their parking spots in a timely manner to get them up here. So we're seeing a lot of delays based on that as well.
Now, that's a good point. I mean, you mentioned we're talking mostly about the extreme weather here, but they are getting it down south. For example, I think Vancouver got a lot of snow for them recently. I guess you're seeing it coming from other places as well where you're getting cancellations, and that's affecting business at your airport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing quite a number of cancellations, not because of what's happening here in a lot of cases or what's specifically happening out in Calgary or Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I want to go back to the weather just for a second because I did mean to ask you about this. Because it's been so cold the last month, it's kind of top of mind for everybody. I just wanted to know if this is something in your time here, maybe kind of historically, because you haven't been here too long. Is this something we deal with every winter in Fort St. John, or was it kind of really bad kind of in December to finish off 2021?
Yeah, the discussions I've had with people who have been here a long time, they're telling me that this is quite unusual, the weather that we've had in the last 2 weeks. And I'm sure there's a lot of the listeners out there that are longtime, residents that may have a different opinion, but just the people I've talked to said that this is relatively unusual, this cold for this long.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, looking forward then, Mike, I mean, we're still kind of in the midst of this pandemic, vaccines rolling out. The Omicron variant, as you already mentioned, now kind of wreaking havoc on things again. Do you have a sense of what you can expect kind of in the short term and even kind of the long term as the year goes on in terms of, the amount of users you're going to have, the amount of business you're going to have, or is it kind of, it's all up in the air and you really don't know what it's going to be like again?
Well, I'd like to say that, I have all the answers, but I certainly don't. If I get my crystal ball out and, put my very positive spin on things, I'm certainly hoping what we're hearing in the news is that this is, a quick peak and a quick drop to the number of cases in this particular variant. So we can actually start traveling a little bit more normally as we had in the past. it's really all just up in the air. We have to see how things roll out. I know that from a budget perspective, and the budget we designed for the airport was well below before there was even an Omicron variant identified. So we're looking we're planning on about 180,000 passengers this year, which is still substantially below where we were in 2019. And we're hoping that if we can get past this particular variant in a relatively quick manner, that in the second half of the year we can actually open up the airport a little bit more, we get a little bit more traffic through, and certainly that there's opportunity for people to travel more readily and more simply to places out of country.
Excellent. I don't expect you to announce too much to us about kind of funding kind of stuff that might be coming up in the next year, or maybe you don't know about it all yet. But looking back again, 2020, you kind of had a couple projects on the go. For example, I think you had improvements or repaving an entire runway. How did that go? Has that made things better for people using it at the airport? Like flights using it, I suppose?
Yeah, in 2021, we actually resurfaced our secondary runway, runway 0321. It was a full reconstruction, so they removed all the old pavement. They repaired the subgrade, new drainage, new pavement, new lights. It was just a complete rehabilitation of that entire piece of infrastructure. We did get some great funding from the federal government. We got the Airport Capital Assistance Program funding, Regional Air Transport Initiative, and funding from Northern Development for that specific project. It was a project between 14 and 15 because we're not totally finalized all the costs yet. It's going to be between $14 and $15 million, which is a significant capital investment in the airport. So, and it has made it better for the airlines. That runway, it was still usable, but it was in pretty rough shape. The asphalt was becoming close to end of life, so it was time to rehabilitate that. And now it's just a great smooth surface that will serve this airport for 20 to 25 years.
Excellent, Mike. All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us about this, and we'll, of course, be following stories closely with the airport, and hopefully you guys see some excellent business, as you say, as we get past Omicron and into further into the year. Mike, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I certainly hope that we see more travelers in 2022.
Absolutely. That's Mike Karsseboom, the managing director of the North Peace Airport. Welcome back to the show. I'm Dub Craig. Now, the Fort St. John Huskies, as I said in the intro, they have 24 wins, 1 loss in regulation, and 1 overtime loss. That's a historic season they're having so far. So, to chat about that and all things Fort St. John Huskies, we're joined now by the head coach and hockey operations, Todd Alexander. Todd, welcome to Moose Talks. Thanks for joining us today from the airport, as it turns out.
Yeah. Me and Mike are neighbors there, actually. He just, his office is just down from ours, and I'm at the far end with Bailey Helicopters here. So he deals with airplanes and I deal with helicopters.
There you go. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes away from work to chat with us about your other job as the head coach of the Huskies. So as I said, historic season. I think you told us at some point earlier, this is the best season this team has had, if not ever. It's certainly in some time. Tell us a bit about how that feels to have so many wins, only 2 losses really, 1 only in regulation, and a 17-point lead over second place, I might add. How does that feel like? What's the mood in the locker room?
I mean, the mood is always pretty good with our group. We pay a lot of attention to that aspect of the game, the mental side of it. We definitely don't pay too much attention to where we are in the standings and whatnot. It's about how we're actually playing, and if we're playing the right way, then good things happen for us, and we talk about it all the time. So mentally our group puts a lot of time into it. I know I ask a lot of them. I ask things that many more programs at our level aren't doing, but at the end of the day, it's the players that are getting the reward out of it and making sure that they're the ones that are understanding the value of winning. It's not just about winning, it's about understanding what it takes to win, right? The preparation, the mental side, the process that we go through, and then when the guys value that, then winning means a whole bunch more other than just telling people that we're winning hockey games, right?
Mm-hmm. Are you guys celebrating this as you go along, or is it more kind of, as you say, you're trying to keep focused on the next game, the next win, and not thinking so much about the history or the 23 wins you had previously? Is you trying to keep it kind of basic's not the word I'm looking for, but if you catch my drift, kind of really simple for the guys that not just think about the next thing you got to do right. Don't think about the whole thing that we happen to be doing right this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you're looking for on what we do is we call it neutral thinking. We stand neutral all the time. We don't try to get too far behind us and worry about the things that we did in the past. We deal with that immediately and fix whatever it may be. And then we also don't look too far ahead of ourselves either. It's not about, acting like a superhero when you win a hockey game, but then jumping out of a building when you lose one. It's about maintaining that level of composure where you can float along in between somewhere and try to make sure that your mindset is in the right place to deal with the things that we need to deal with that are in front of us. And the things that we can control is what we worry about. And the things that we can't control, we just, we don't put a lot of time into it, if any at all. So I've been super impressed with the team's mindset. And I think that it's definitely one of the more mentally tough teams that I've had. Not saying that I haven't had some tough teams or some tough players and things like that, but their mindset is as a group is very strong, and it's impressive to be a part of it. They're the ones that make me look good at the end of the day. I'm not the one that has to go through the grind and do the exercises and do the drills and things like that they have to. So impressive group that I'm working with right now, and hopefully we can continue on our journey here that we're on right now.
Mm-hmm. Of course, for your team to win as much, it means that other teams are losing when they play you specifically. So it seems like a lot of things have to be going right beyond the team doing everything right themselves, the mental preparation, as you said, the maturity, the sort of being in the right mindset. Beyond kind of the team's prep, what do you think is happening that has allowed this to be happen? Is it good luck? Is it that other teams just aren't in nearly the same place you are, and so it's allowed you to rise above the rest so much?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody practices, everybody skates, everybody plays the game. So where are you gonna separate yourself from the group? And we touched on it a little bit, but it is the mindset of our group. Like I said, we work hard at it. We pay attention to it. We talk about it all the time. We do a lot of drills. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do lean on individuals outside of the program that know a lot more about it, and then I try to take their information to our group and then walk that myself as well. So we kind of have a little saying around our group that we like to say that we either win or we learn. We haven't lost in years around here, because that's all we're doing. We're winning or learning. And when we focus on it more that way and what we can do to better ourselves as a team or as an individual, then I feel that there's more power to that. And another thing that we definitely work on all the time is not just saying to our group to be positive, but we work on deflecting negativity. We also work on not talking about negativity as far as allowing it to come out of our mouths. It might pop into our heads and stuff. We're human. None of us are perfect. But at the end of the day, we don't like it to come out of our mouths if it pops into our head. So that helps our group. Everybody's got a say around there. Everybody's equal. It doesn't matter if you're a first-year guy or a fourth-year guy. We treat everybody the same. Our culture is fantastic in that hockey room. Anybody that comes in there immediately is welcomed, and their say is valued. Again, it doesn't matter who you are. So it's the boys that are doing this. They're super impressive, and again, I touched on it a little bit earlier, but they're the ones that are making me look good. It's not the other way around. So. We just keep going to the grind, and happy to go to the rink every day, and we'll continue doing what we do.
Go into the second part of the season starting tonight against Grand Prairie, if I remember right. You're also playing the Kodiaks tomorrow night. What's the biggest challenge you think for this team going in to the second part of the season? What do you still have to overcome? Is it that every team's going to be gunning for you now because you're doing so well?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. because we talk about that all the time. We know that every game that we play, I mean, going back a couple of years now, because the program's had some success in the last 4 or 5 years now, we expect everybody's best game when we play. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to get their best swing, and so we got to be ready, and that's the challenge that we face each and every night, and it's an enjoyable challenge. I'd rather have that challenge of people coming in and giving us their best game, or really getting fired up to play against us, because that's what's going to help us down the stretch and get to our ultimate goal of coming out of the league and getting to provincials and doing some damage in provincials.
Mm-hmm. How much of a challenge has it been to deal with the COVID-19 restrictions that I think have changed a couple times now for kind of team sports like you guys on the team, on the roster with fans in the stands? What's that been like?
It's definitely a different beast to juggle, for sure. It's almost like this added injury program that we have to deal with. I mean, a couple years ago, more than that, I guess, concussions started to pop up, and they started to pay attention to that, and we understood that we started losing players a little bit longer than what we were accustomed to, because we had to make sure that we're doing the right thing for that. And this is sort of the same thing. We just kind of treat it like an injury, and if a guy's out, we just surround him with positivity and hope that they can get better and do whatever they can from home during their quarantine, and then when they come back, it's they're fresh and ready to go. But that's how we've been kind of treating it. It's just basically like an injury, because you're out for a certain extended period of time. Mm-hmm. It used to be 10 or 14 days, and now they're down to 5 days and a negative test. And yeah, you're right, the goalposts move all over the place. So again, we don't try to put a lot of focus on it, but the staff is aware, and we do the best that we can to mitigate the negativity that comes out of COVID into our group. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's just another part of adversity for a hockey team to go through, and that's what we're all about, accepting challenges. So no big deal.
All right, one last question for you, Coach Alexander. The league shifted to broadcasting games on Hockey TV. How's the response been? Have you heard back from people using it and watching it? And how do you, as coaches, like using the software for game prep and whatnot? How's that been for you?
It's been a lot better, especially for the road games. I can get film from the road games now. We've been filming our games for a long time and posting them on YouTube, so our fans have always been connected to us. But the biggest difference from what we used to do compared to Hockey TV now is that it's a platform that scouts can use in the States or in Canada to watch our players and then phone and have conversations about them for the guys that are interested in moving on to that next college level, which I think we've had somewhere between 15 to 16 guys go in the last 8 years or so. So it's been good. It's a lot easier for those guys to jump on and watch our players and other players in our league too. I think it was a move that we needed to do. Myself and our general manager Jeremy and our president Mike have been trying to push the league for a video platform like that, because a lot of those teams down south, they can't really afford a scouting program. So the head coach is it. So if he can't get out and watch your team play, then this is the next best thing, where he can watch a guy and then we can have a conversation about what they're looking for and whatnot. So I think it's been excellent. Lots of people have signed up and enjoyed it, and then a scouting tool for us too. There's lots of times where we're talking to other leagues that are at our level, and maybe there's a player that we're interested in. Now I can put my own eyes on it, versus before I'd have to phone 4 or 5, 6, 7 people and get their opinion on the guy, and then you kind of take a swing in the dark at it. But now you can put eyes on it, and it's been a nice tool for us to have.
Excellent. Well, Coach, we'll have to leave it there, but I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us today. Thanks so much.
Awesome, Dub. Good to hear from you, buddy. Happy New Year, pal.
Thank you, and good luck to you, by the way, tonight and tomorrow's game and for the rest of the season. That's Coach Todd Alexander, head coach in hockey operations with the Fort St. John Huskies.